Gemini. Whoever plays with a Gemini's heart will pay with tears later. There's something about the way you love that most people never fully understand. To the outside world, you may appear lighthearted, quick-witted, always dancing between ideas and emotions like the wind through tall grass. But beneath that sparkling surface lives a heart that is far more sacred, far more tender than anyone suspects. You don't fall often, but when you do, you fall deeply, fully, with a kind of wonder and intensity that only someone born under your sign could carry. Yet the same open-hearted curiosity has made you vulnerable to people who mistake your trust for weakness, your generosity for naivety. They flirt with your feelings, misread your duality, or try to tame your spirit, only to realize too late that the love you gave was not casual, but divine. And when someone plays with a Gemini's heart, the consequences don't come from anger or revenge. They come from something far greater, a cosmic law that protects the innocent and restores what has been misused. This isn't superstition. It's not about karma in some abstract way. It's about an energetic truth. When you love from a place of purity, the universe takes note. And when that love is dishonored, the universe responds. In this message, I'll reveal how this protection works for you, why some people suffer after breaking your heart, and what it means for the relationships yet to come. If your intuition has long whispered that something is guiding you even through heartbreak, this is your confirmation. Like, share or subscribe if you feel called. But most of all, prepare to reclaim the power of your heart's journey. Gate 1. The sacred duality of Gemini's heart. Why hurting you comes at a spiritual price. Gemini, you are the paradox the universe whispers through. The sign of the twins, the mirror and the motion, the question and the answer. At your core, you carry both lightness and depth, both laughter and longing. You're often misunderstood as fleeting, hard to pin down. But those who've truly entered your heart know the truth. When you choose to love, you do so with a stunning vulnerability hidden beneath layers of wit, curiosity, and freedom. And that kind of love, Gemini, the love you give, is not ordinary. It's electric, transformational, unexpected. Because when you open your heart, you don't just offer affection. You offer perspective. You awaken someone's soul. You invite them to see life through your kaleidoscope, full of wonder, ideas, play, tenderness, and infinite possibility. But not everyone is ready for that kind of love. And some, not knowing what they received, treat it carelessly. They think your affection is a game. They believe your openness is weakness. They assume your adaptability means you'll bend forever, until you don't. What they don't realize, Gemini, is that your love is a gift, and the universe knows when that gift is mistreated. There's a cosmic intelligence, a spiritual law, that watches over hearts like yours. Hearts that hold both innocence and wisdom. Hearts that give more than they should, even when they know better. And when someone hurts you, not by accident, but with intention, manipulation, or disregard, they set into motion an energetic consequence they cannot outrun. This isn't revenge. It isn't ego. It's correction. Because your soul is part of a larger divine equation, one that seeks to maintain balance, to preserve beauty, and protect those who love with purity. Think back, Gemini. Has there been someone in your life who hurt you deeply? Someone who played with your emotions, led you on, or used your affection as a tool for their own power. And then, not long after, you began to hear whispers, their plans falling apart, their energies shifting, their relationships crumbling. Perhaps they lost something important, or were betrayed themselves. Perhaps they fell silent, vanished, unable to explain why their own path seemed blocked. That wasn't your doing. That was the law of return. Your heart carries a frequency that moves beyond surface-level connection. When you offer someone your affection, you are inviting them into an energetic agreement. You are saying, I trust you with this part of me. And whether they accept it consciously or not, the universe registers the exchange. When they honor that trust, blessings follow. Their lives expand. They grow. They flourish. But when they violate it, when they dismiss, diminish, or abuse it, they break something sacred, and the universe responds. You probably noticed this pattern. How the people who betray you often seem to walk into chaos. How ex-lovers who ghosted you suddenly spiral. How friends who used you for your light become shadows of themselves. It's not because you curse them. It's because they activated a deeper law by disrespecting the very love that was meant to elevate them. And Gemini, what's even more astonishing is this. Most of the time, you don't even know what happens to them. You don't see the consequences play out directly. That's because this protection isn't about giving you satisfaction. It's about shielding your heart so that you can keep loving, so that you don't become bitter, so that you don't carry resentment into your next bond. But sometimes, just sometimes, the universe does let you see. And when you do, you feel something unusual. Not triumph, not vengeance, but clarity, peace, the soft voice of your higher self saying, you were never the problem, you were the lesson. And this clarity is vital to your evolution. Because for too long, Gemini, you've been the one doubting your role in the heartbreak. You've wondered if you were too intense, too open, too curious, too inconsistent. You've questioned whether your dual nature made you hard to love. But what you must now accept is that it wasn't you, it was them. They weren't ready to hold someone who moves through life with so much emotional aliveness. They weren't ready to rise to your level of insight and connection. And when they failed to do so, they lost the most precious thing they've been given, your heart. There is also something else you must understand. When someone harms you, Gemini, they aren't just hurting a person. They're disrupting a divine path. Your energy, your intellect, your love, it's all connected to a greater purpose. So when someone derails it by playing with your emotions, it creates a distortion that ripples far beyond the relationship itself. The consequence isn't personal punishment. It's a universal realignment, a course correction. And as for you, you always recover, even when the pain is deep, even when you cry behind your laughter, even when your mind replays a betrayal late at night, you find your way back. And not because you forget, but because you are made for resilience. Your soul doesn't settle in grief. It adapts, it grows, it turns sorrow into poetry, it turns endings into freedom. And even when someone tries to break you, they only ever reveal the strength of what they could never destroy. This is why the universe guards you, Gemini, because your heart is a source of connection, of expression, of light for so many others. And those who try to extinguish that flame don't just lose you, they lose themselves in the process. In the next gate, we'll begin to explore how this cosmic protection not only shields your heart from harm, but also prepares you for the relationships that are truly worthy of you. Gate 2, the price of playing with a Gemini's heart. When the universe teaches through absence. Gemini, let's talk now about what happens after someone breaks your heart. Not what happens inside you, but what happens in them. Because while you're processing, learning, healing, and rising in your quiet brilliance, the person who hurt you begins to feel something else entirely. A void, a disorientation, a loss they don't quite understand. They may not miss you right away. In fact, they might think walking away from your love was a victory, especially if they mistook your adaptability for weakness. Maybe they expected you to chase. Maybe they thought you'd crumble without their presence. Maybe they believed that your silence meant indifference. But the truth is, Gemini, your silence is sacred. Your withdrawal is divine. And once you step back from someone, the universe steps forward. That's when the real consequences begin, not as punishment, but as education. You see, you're not just a chapter in someone's story. You're a turning point. And when someone violates the sanctity of your love, the lesson that follows is almost always delivered through absence. Let's be honest, your energy is not easily replaced. When you leave someone's life, it doesn't create a hole, it creates echoes. Because you weren't just a partner, a friend, a lover. You were a mirror, a muse, a spark. You challenged them, entertained them, comforted them. You kept their world in motion when it might have otherwise remained stagnant. And when they lose you, they are left with their own emotional gravity. Often, for the first time in a long time, what happens next is almost predictable. The patterns begin to reveal themselves. Their next relationships feel flat. Conversations feel forced. They search for the playfulness, the depth, the intellectual dance you brought so effortlessly. But it's not there because what you gave wasn't formulaic. It wasn't a role anyone else could play. It was uniquely you, and they didn't know how rare it was until it was gone. That's when regret begins to stir. At first, it's subtle. A song you once shared, a place you used to visit, a phrase you use that suddenly appears in conversation. And then the emotional weight hits them, not just for what they lost, but for how they lost it, for the carelessness, for the manipulation, for the way they played games of the heart that only ever wanted to love freely. And here is where the universe does its most powerful work. Not through revenge, but through revelation. They begin to see you clearly, not as someone they could always come back to, not as someone who would wait, not as someone they could twist into comfort when convenient, but as someone they will likely never meet again in the same way. The universe, gently or not so gently, shows them the price of disregarding something sacred. And that price is reflection. Gemini, have you ever had someone resurface in your life long after you moved on? Not to apologize directly, perhaps, but to check in, to see how you are, to remind you that they still think of you? These aren't coincidences. These are energetic echoes, reverberations of a heart that finally realizes what it once held and what it lost. But here's the most important part. By the time they understand the value of your presence, you've already reclaimed yourself. You've already shifted. You've already begun a new dialogue with your heart. And while compassion may still live within you, the door they once walked through no longer leads to the same place. This is divine timing, because you're not meant to take them back just because they finally see clearly. You're meant to take yourself back fully, your joy, your trust, your depth, and place it where it will be honored. And you, Gemini, do this not with vengeance, but with grace. That grace is what sets you apart. You don't need to shout about what someone lost. You don't need to prove that you were worthy. You simply move in a way that reflects healing, and that healing is your power. Because the most poetic justice of all is living a beautiful life in alignment with your truth, while those who try to play you are left trying to make sense of the silence you left behind. Let's also name a truth that often goes unspoken. Sometimes, the people who hurt you were not cruel in intent. They were simply unready, unequipped to meet the magnitude of your heart. They were too fragmented to recognize someone whole. And their greatest punishment is realizing, perhaps too late, that they were loved by someone rare and radiant. And they walked away thinking they could find it elsewhere. But they won't, because Gemini, what you offer is not a performance. It's not a mask. It's not a persona. It's an aliveness that only comes from those who've dared to live with open eyes and open hearts. You bring oxygen to relationships. And those who misuse that air often find themselves gasping for clarity long after you're gone. If this has happened to you, don't doubt your worth. Don't wonder if you were too much. The truth is, you were exactly right for the right soul, but that soul wasn't ready yet. And now, you're being guided towards someone who is. In the next gate, we'll explore how this cosmic justice is not only a response to your pain, but clearing for the deeper love that awaits your heart. Gate 3, the spiritual protection of a Gemini's heart. Why you heal faster and rise stronger. Gemini, let's talk now about something remarkable, something you may have noticed your entire life, but never knew how to explain. You have this uncanny ability to bounce back from heartbreak, to laugh again after someone left, to find color in the gray, to create rhythm in silence, to turn an ending into a beginning with nothing but time, curiosity, and courage. People assume it's because you're not deep. They say, Geminis move on fast, or they never feel anything for too long. But that couldn't be further from the truth. What they don't understand is that your ability to heal is not about detachment. It's about spiritual protection. You carry a kind of cosmic defense system, a sacred buffer between you and emotional ruin. When someone plays with your heart, the universe doesn't just comfort you, it redirects you. It whispers truths in your dreams. It sends signs through synchronicity. It clears paths without you even knowing what was being avoided. You have been saved more times than you realize, not just from the pain of betrayal, but from the long-term impact that pain could have left behind. Because your soul has work to do. Your mind is here to inspire. Your heart is here to communicate love in its most alive and dynamic form. And so the universe steps in, not because you're fragile, but because your purpose is too vital to be dimmed by those who couldn't recognize your worth. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on your past. How many times have you loved someone who didn't know how to love you back, and yet somehow you rose even brighter afterward? How many people try to confuse your generosity for inconsistency, only to find that your absence hurt more than your presence ever could? How many times did someone break your trust, only for you to wake up weeks or months later with a new vision, a new truth, a new sense of self so sharp and radiant that not even you recognize a version of yourself you had become? This isn't random, Gemini. This is what happens when divine protection partners with inner evolution. You see, your duality is your shield. One part of you experiences the pain. It mourns. It questions. It rewinds the conversations. It replays the silences. But the other part of you, the wiser cosmic twin, knows. It watches. It holds you gently in the background and says, "Not here, not this time. We're not staying here." And so you move on, not because it didn't matter, but because it mattered so much that you couldn't let it define your entire story. And this is the part that often stuns those who hurt you. They expect you to fall apart, to remain broken, to seek closure. But instead you shine, not performatively, not in spite, but genuinely. You smile again, not because the wound didn't cut deep, but because your soul refused to let that wound become your identity. This is where your sacred protection shows itself most clearly. You begin to notice that those who wronged you start facing consequences. Some lose the very things they bragged about in front of you. Others are left circling in the same emotional patterns you once tried to help them break. Some even try to return, not to reconnect, but to feel close to the energy they once misused. But you've changed, and because your healing is spiritual, not just emotional, you don't need revenge. You don't crave explanations. You simply outgrow the pain. You grow wiser, sharper, kinder but not naive, open but not unguarded. And that quiet transformation becomes a testament to something larger. The universe has always had your back. Let's go deeper into how this protection operates. When you are betrayed, Gemini, it doesn't only hurt. You begin to receive intuitive downloads. Maybe you wake up one day and realize you completely lost interest in someone you once cried over. Maybe you get offered a new connection, a new opportunity, a new truth that pulls you out of the cycle just when you thought you were sinking. Maybe you start seeing angel numbers, having vivid dreams, meeting strangers who affirm your worth in uncanny ways. That's the universe clearing your path. That's the healing rushing in. Because your heart, no matter how many times it's bruised, was never broken. It was being refined, tempered, fortified in the fire of human experience, but guided by something much higher. Even your heartbreaks serve your evolution. They remove the noise so you can hear your own voice again. They strip away illusions so your intuition can rise. They return you to yourself, not as someone hard or bitter, but as someone who finally understands that not everyone deserves access to the most sacred parts of your soul. This protection isn't passive, it's dynamic. It's in the way you suddenly feel allergic to spaces that once tolerated your dimming. It's in the way you can't unsee the red flags. It's in the way your nervous system begins to reject small talk with people who aren't energetically aligned. And most beautifully, it's in the way the right people begin to find you. People who recognize your duality as depth, not instability. People who celebrate your curiosity rather than try and contain it. People who don't just enjoy your presence, but honor your process. People who would never play with your heart because they've done their own inner work. And they know what it takes to be in sacred relationship. This is the reward of being protected. Not just that you're kept safe, but that your future connections are built on truth, on compatibility, on mutual respect. So Gemini, the next time you find yourself rising from yet another emotional wound, remember this. It's not a fluke. It's not because you don't care. It's because you are cosmically equipped to rise. You are wrapped in a frequency that bends reality toward healing. You are here to thrive, fully, wildly, and wisely. In the next gate, we'll explore how this healing leads you to set clearer boundaries. Not to shut people out, but to ensure only the worthy can come in. Gate 4, setting boundaries with grace. How Gemini protect their heart while staying open. Gemini, now that you've experienced the depths of cosmic protection and your unique ability to heal, It's time to turn inward and examine how you can actively protect your heart without shutting down your light. Boundaries, healthy, clear, and compassionate boundaries, are your new best friends. They are not walls built out of fear, but gates made of wisdom. Gates that say, "This is sacred space, and only those who respect it may enter." For you, boundaries might feel complicated. Your nature is to explore, to communicate, to connect. You dance between ideas and people with fluid ease, making many friends, many connections, many stories. But without boundaries, that fluidity can become a flood, washing away your energy, your peace, and sometimes your very sense of self. Let me be clear. Boundaries are not about shutting others out or becoming cold. They are about honoring yourself and the energy you bring into relationships. They are about choosing how and with whom you share your sacred light. You may have noticed that when you don't set boundaries, certain people take more than they give. They drain your mental energy with constant demands. They minimize your feelings while seeking your approval. They play with your heart without regard. And when you finally feel exhausted, you wonder why it happened again. This pattern ends now. Boundaries start with self-awareness. When you feel drained after conversation, when you sense someone's energy doesn't align with yours, it's your heart asking for space. Instead of pushing through, you listen. Instead of apologizing for needing rest, you honor it. Setting boundaries means saying no, even when it's uncomfortable. It means stepping away from conversations that twist your words. It means recognizing that your time and energy are precious resources, not infinite. It means choosing people who uplift you, not those who tether you to pain. Here's a practical truth. Saying no is a rejection, it's protection. It is the highest form of self-love, and it signals to the universe that you value your heart enough to guard it fiercely. Remember Ariel from earlier, the Gemini who realized the compliments from a friend were veiled criticisms. Once she set boundaries, politely but firmly, her energy shifted. She stopped absorbing the disguised envy, and her relationships changed. Some people stepped back, yes, but others stepped up, meeting her at the level of honesty and respect she deserved. Gemini, you have that power too. You can maintain your charm and curiosity and hold strong boundaries. You can stay open and joyful without being vulnerable to manipulation. You can be the light that dances through the room while holding a shield of clear intention. Boundaries also help you to clarify your emotional needs. You don't have to be everything to everyone. You don't have to respond to every message, attend every gathering, or explain yourself endlessly. Sometimes the most loving act is to step back and recharge. And here's the secret. When you do this, your relationships deepen. The people who remain are those who respect your pace, honor your truth, and celebrate your fullness. You create a community of mutual care, where your heart is held, not hunted. But boundaries require practice. They require patience with yourself. You might feel guilty at first. You might worry about losing people. You might question if you're being too harsh. Gemini, boundaries are your right. They are your birthright as someone who loves deeply and thinks profoundly. They are how you protect the sacred light inside you, so it can keep shining without burnout or erosion. Let this be your mantra. I protect my heart with kindness and clarity. I choose connection that nourishes my soul. In the coming days, watch how this simple shift changes your world. Notice how your energy lifts, how your mind clears, how your heart expands, not because you gave more, but because you gave better. In the next gate, we will explore how this process of protection and boundary setting prepares you to welcome the relationships that truly deserve you, relationships that will honor your light and deepen your joy. Gate 5, welcoming true connection, how Gemini's healing heart attracts authentic love. Gemini, as you step into this new phase of your emotional journey, armed with cosmic protection, wise boundaries, and a heart that refuses to dim, you're preparing to welcome something profoundly different into your life. Authentic, soul-nourishing connection. This isn't about chasing love or seeking validation. It's about magnetizing the right energy by simply being your true self. You've spent so long navigating the labyrinth of disguised envy, disguised affection, and emotional weariness that may feel almost foreign to imagine a relationship where your heart is treasured for all its dualities, its lightness and depth, its humor and sensitivity, its curiosity and need for stability. But that relationship exists, Gemini. It's waiting for you, and you are ready for it. The healing you've done, though often invisible and quiet, radiates out like ripples on water. It shifts your frequency and clears space for the kind of love that doesn't require you to hide or explain. Love that embraces your complexity, honors your boundaries, and celebrates your growth. Remember that you are a natural communicator and a seeker of truth. These gifts allow you to create connections that go beyond surface-level charm. You invite others into a dance of ideas, emotions, and shared adventures. But now, this dance will be with partners who understand the rhythm, who don't step on your toes or mute your song. In practical terms, this means you will start noticing the subtle differences between those who offer conditional love and those who offer wholehearted presence. The ones who stay curious about you, not just your stories, but your soul. The ones who respect your need for space without taking it personally. The ones who celebrate your triumphs without envy or comparison. You may also find that as you clear old wounds and release toxic patterns, your intuition sharpens. You'll sense immediately when someone's energy aligns with yours, or when it doesn't. This summit will save you time, energy, and heartache. You'll become a beacon for genuine connection, simply because you no longer settle for less. Take time to nurture this new phase. Surround yourself with people who fuel your inspiration and support your healing. Engage in activities that reconnect you to your inner wisdom. Journaling, meditation, creative expression. These practices anchor you in your authentic frequency, making it easier to attract the right relationships. Gemini, this isn't just about love with others. It's about loving yourself fully, embracing every facet of your nature without apology. When you do, you create an irresistible magnetism that draws the kind of people who can meet you at that level. The universe honors your journey. It has watched your tears, your resilience, your growth. Now, it's aligning the people, places, and moments that will celebrate your truth and expand your joy. As you continue on this path, remember that love is not transaction. It's a reflection. When you cultivate love within, you invite love without. And the love you deserve is waiting, ready to meet the radiant Gemini you become. Conclusion, Gemini, embrace your radiant heart and the love you deserve. Gemini, you have traveled a profound path, one that revealed the sacredness of your heart, the cosmic justice that guards your love, and the power of boundaries woven with grace. You have learned that whoever plays with a Gemini's heart will indeed pay with tears, not because you seek retribution, but because the universe holds space for the purity and depth of your love. Your journey is a testament to resilience, to the beauty of duality, and to the courage it takes to love so deeply yet protect so wisely. You are a beacon of light that moves fluidly through the world, complex, vibrant, and endlessly inspiring. Remember, you are not here to dim yourself for others or to carry the burdens of those who fail to honor your truth. Your heart deserves respect, your spirit deserves care, and your love deserves reciprocity. When you protect your energy with discernment and open your heart to authentic connection, you step into a higher frequency, one that attracts relationships and experiences aligned with your true self. If this message has touched your soul, I invite you to share your thoughts and reflections in the comments. Your story may be the light someone else needs on their journey. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel to continue walking this healing path with me, Elizabeth, here at Esoteric Wisdom. Together, we explore the depths of astrology, energy, and the soul's evolution. Your radiant heart is your greatest gift. Embrace it, protect it, and watch as the universe brings forth the love you have always deserved.